Welcome, everybody, to the show. This is Counterclipping show number 196 for October 28th, 2024, and I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. We are drinking. We're going to probably not finish this tonight, but Laphroaig Quarter Cask, bottled at a robust 48%. And no, I haven't put any water into it because I love Laphroaig and don't think it needs any water. But that's me. If you prefer water in it, be my guest. Anyway, just trying to keep an eye on the chat here. So Brant is being silly as usual. So anyway, we got a whole bunch of news tonight. Our topic is the Compass Games holiday sale flyer. We're going to go through that. That is downloadable from compassgames.com if you want to look at it. And there are some really good deals in there. And I will point those out as we encounter them. I am going to try to stay away from the pre-order stuff because that's kind of enough to cover an entire show on its own. And maybe we'll do that at some point. We have done it in the past, but not tonight. So we'll just talk about apparently some major lint crisis occurred in the dryer. So, well, not much I can do about it. There we go. That's what happens when you have cats, folks. Anyway, so we are going to talk about that tonight. We got a whole bunch of stuff, but before we get into any of that, please do remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, and of course, big shout out to both the patrons of Ardwulf's Lair, without whom it would not be possible to keep doing this stuff, as well as our special sponsor, our friends at Noble Knight Games. And yes, I am now calling it a strategy that I have waited so long to edit the videos. So we will eventually see some video from the trip to Noble Knight, but we did cover that kind of exhaustively in an entire show on its own. So I don't feel bad about it, but I would like to get it done so it is not hanging over my head anymore. We will get David Imperato. We will get to the catalog in the course of time. We've got a lot of news to go through tonight, though. So before we get into any of that, Super Chats and Super Stickers are on. It is a good way to get your comment highlighted as well as to support the channel. I will definitely respond to a Super Chat or Super Sticker comment, possibly not right away, depending on how backed up I am in the chat, which is typically quite a bit. So, and of course, there is a link in the ticker, which I will put up right now, for the Ardwulf's Lair Discord community. If by any chance, when you're watching this, that link is no longer active, or if you don't feel like it, just send me an email. My email is in the ticker as well, and I will give you your own very own personalized invitation to that Discord server. So that will all be good. So before we get into the business of the evening, let's say hello to Alistair Logie, B-Red, and Bayonet Brant from the Armchair Dragoons, Bill Simone, Board Gaming Geezer, Bob Cometh, Brent McCabe, Chris Yap, Christopher Smith, Dale Brady, Daniel Silverthorne, Daniel Teets, Dave Poirier, David Imperato, David Zell, Dirk Plexiglass, Ed Holtzman, Eric Goebel, HUN644 New, the legend himself, Fucko, is here tonight. Jason W., Jeff Anderson, Jeff Beeler, Jeffrey Edwards, Joe Faust from sunny Northeast Ohio. It was sunny but somewhat chilly today here in Northeast Ohio. Joe Hammond, Okabayashi, Joe Mentum, John Mogg, John Nolan, John Stanley, John Clark, Jonathan Dyer, Carl Crater from the Wargame Bootcamp, Mark McNair, Marty Sample is here. Matthew Brinson, Meandering Mike, Michael Berry, Michael Schmaus, MIDI Doctors, Patrick of Patrick's Tactics and Tutorials, Paul Dangle, Paul Sin, Perfidious Albion, Rob Moffat, Rogue77, Ryan Heward, Scott Bell, Spare Ribs Snacking, Limit is in the house, Stephen Rochelle, Stigler is here, Tailwind, Wade Moore, and Winterson. And I apologize to all those folks who are here and who I have left out of the chat. So bear that in mind, that there's tons and tons of folks here, and it's YouTube's fault that I didn't get a full list of actual names. Oops. I had, Meandering Mike, I had a not entirely dissimilar experience with our good friends at Multi-Man Publishing a few years ago, which you might recall. So this kind of thing does happen. So I also have been known when we moved. I ordered at least one thing that went to the old address, so it happens. So getting gray. Actually, one of the reasons I'm growing this beard, which I will eventually get tired of, so that I no longer look like a 14-year-old terrorist, is just to see how much gray is in it. It's kind of an annual experiment that we do at this point. So we do have a whole bunch of news tonight, which we will get into forthwith. Now, the news I don't want to tell you is, unfortunately, the most important news, which is that our good friend Mark Ruggiero is not doing all that well. And he is in home hospice now, and our thoughts are with him. I will also observe that Dan has seen fit to award Mark the Grognard of the Year award for 2024, which is absolutely fitting. And we're all happy for Mark in that respect, while at the same time our thoughts are with him and his family at this time. And it's not great news, unfortunately. So, moving on to actual industry news. So once again, our thoughts are with Mark Ruggiero and will remain so for some time. Anyway, I am not nearly as chunky as Jack Black. Thank you very much. So anyway, we have a Kickstarter news. Let me fix all the screen angles here. There we go. Okay, so the first big piece of news, and I will I'll have to fish the link out because these don't want to behave. This is the link to Volume 2 in Herman Lettman and Flying Pig Games' Black Swan series, the follow-up to the very highly regarded A Most Fearful Sacrifice. This is The Rock of Chickamauga, developed and published to the same very high standard that Flying Pig has really always had. But in particular set with A Most Fearful Sacrifice, which really knocked it out of the park as a lot of people, including myself, are concerned. Mr. Mark Herman is here. Mark, thanks for stopping by. So if you want to get in on this, I have thrown a link into the chat. It has already funded, and there are 9 days to go. It doesn't feel like this has been up for very long. So there's that. I might talk about an extra Kickstarter if we have time at the end of the show, because it's not an RPG. It is an RPG thing that I bought in on, and not a wargaming item. So if we get to it, we get to it. If we don't, I'll mention it at some other point. Those of us on the Ardwulf Discord server know what it is already. So the Rock of Chickamauga, this is very exciting. This is my personal favorite Civil War battle anyway, so I am very excited that that this will be the next one from Herman and Mark and company. Other news. ID Jester and his crew over at the War Room, which is a show that broadcasts on ID Jester's channel, depending on exactly what week we're talking about. It's usually Jester's channel, and then it gets rebroadcast on everybody else's channels later on, is having their 5th anniversary show on November 2nd. That is not this Saturday, but the following Saturday show. So tune into that. They will have some giveaways and all kinds of stuff. Speaking of which, I will mention it again, that we are coming up on show number 200, and I will have at least one giveaway and possibly more for that show. I haven't figured out what that's going to be yet, but, well, to be fair, no, it's Ars Magica. Broken Empires is tempting, but I'm also willing to kind of wait and see how people react to Broken Empires. It does look intriguing, and the whole sim light idea is something I find attractive. But I just don't know enough about it. So Ars Magica, on the other hand, we played for 10 years, and we're, my name is in the book as a play tester from the last edition. So if you were a very early backer of this, you got the game of the Rock of Chickamauga, that is, you got the game for $1. But I think that was like the first 3 backers. So best of luck on that. I was not fast enough to get to that. But the Kickstarter is doing very well. There are some stretch goals unlocked. So once again, I have put a link in the it is this coming Saturday. Is that November 2nd? Yep. My Mandarin Mike is quite correct. November 2nd is in fact this coming Saturday. I have it mixed up with the other news item that I'll mention in a moment. And that is SD HistCon, which is coming up the following weekend. And I will be going out there. There will be, I don't know how much content I will broadcast from there. It'll probably be something, but it may end up being, and a ton of people have tried to mention that, yes, I am in fact wrong, and it's not 2 weeks away, it's 1 week away. But, well, you and 646 other people missed it, so don't feel too bad. So there will be content created at the SD HistCon in San Diego, and I'll get to this in just a moment. I'm not sure I feel about this. It might be just a little premature, if you know what I'm saying. But I certainly am not going to object to it either. So, and I can't think of a better person to name a community award after than Mark Ruggiero. And as Spare Rib points out, Foxconn in Dallas, which is the Decision Games convention, if you want Stigler's autograph, you better show up there. So that also starts same weekend, starts on November 8th. So there are no less than 3 significant wargaming conventions Veterans Day weekend, which is perhaps not at all surprising. All right, so let's switch away. What else do I got here? All right, so in the wake, so bearing in mind that I will be gone the whole weekend and there'll be long flights and all of that stuff, I have decided that there will be no live shows the following week. That is November 11th and 12th. So that is going to be, no go here. If you are starved for content at that time, Brant over at the Armchair Dragoons will be doing their own, as they do occasionally. They will be doing a show over there. So feel free to check that out, and they'll probably have some guests. And maybe I'll hang around there too. But the whole point is to take a week off because, frankly, I need a week off. So there's that. In any case, it is literally next week. So I know I'm starting to sweat the time off, which has not been approved yet. It's going to create a major problem if it is not approved. I don't think it's going to be an issue, but it has to actually be approved. So, and as Brant points out, and he ought to know, he runs a convention calendar over at the Armchair Dragoons site, armchairdragoons.com. There are 6 wargame conventions anyway. I don't know if they're wargame specific conventions or not. And as HUN644 new mentions, that this is actually news from a couple of weeks ago, I believe, from Pacificon. They are naming the wargaming track in Mark's honor, which again is appropriate, and Mark was there, which is fantastic. All right, so the next and the last piece of hobby news that we need to get to is the latest GMT update. Disappointing me by not releasing this information mere minutes after Brant released Tuesday Newsday, but nevertheless, we do have it. It came on later in the week. All right, so once again, as usual, I have more planes. Where are the planes going? All right, so once again, and I didn't mention this, we are clipping Advanced Pacific Theater of Operations still. We got back to this. So, well, I want to play ball. So, that's what it is. So in any case, we are now looking at the GMT monthly update. This is a bomber, so it goes with the bombers. And as usual, I'm not reading the thing out verbatim. If you want to read absolutely every little detail, and there's always a lot here, go over to the GMT website. So here we have the report from the weekend at the warehouse, which happened a week or two ago, and we can see Kai and Adam. What is Adam's last name? I don't remember. Well, there's Kai anyway. Welcome back to California. They've got all kinds of stuff from this. What's charging and shipping next? We'll get to that in a minute. Replacement counter sheet update. They have added a counter for the new edition of For the People. Where is it on here? I'm curious what it is. It's Schofeld. Okay. So I don't know if I'm going to need that replacement counter or not, but I have ordered the 2024 replacement counter sheet. So that's in here too. So what I see on this list is stuff for Tanto Manta, Panzer North Africa, Men of Iron Norman Conquests, Downfall, Flying Colors Under the Southern Cross, Next War Poland, For the People, Banish All Their Fears. So far, I have all of these except for Tanto Manta, France 40, which I also don't have, Russian Campaign, and it looks like it's just a half counter sheet, which is fine. If there's less errata, cool. All right, and then the GMT Talk podcast, which is available wherever you listen to podcasts. And here's a designer diary series for Lenin's Legacy and Red Dust Rebellion, Red Dust Rebellion is starting to hit people's hands at this point. Yes, it does. That's true. I always have more quote unquote credits available to me for the holiday sale than I am literally able to spend without doing something crazy like ordering multiple copies of something, which I don't normally do on purpose. So website ordering update from Mitch Land. Option now exists for customers to pay via PayPal, but using their credit card. Of course, if you pay via PayPal, you can use your credit card. That's just how it works. But PayPal's now an option. You may have seen the interview that we did with the designers of Assault on Gallipoli a couple of weeks ago, and that game is now available from GMT. It is published by the French publisher Hexasim, which is absolutely worth a look because Hexasim does really nice stuff, generally speaking. All right, we're back to fighters. Cool. All right, so not there yet. Stuff that could use more orders. A House Divided has, by the way, made its number since this was published. I got an email about that. Thunder on the Baltic will make its number real soon. Hammer and Sickle looks intriguing. Napoleon in Egypt looks intriguing. Napoleon in Egypt has been on P500 for like a year. I'm not sure why people aren't jumping on that, but everything else is probably going to be fine too. All right, here's the box back to Space Empire's All Good Things, which I've been waiting for forever. Here's the GMT1 update from Jason Carr. Here is some Vassal module updates, mostly for Combat Commander stuff, and sort of Rome, actually, which somebody else is doing a new edition of. Designer interviews with a whole bunch of people, including Mr. Mark Herman, who has joined us tonight. Jay Carmichael, designer of Red Dust Rebellion, was spoken to by Liz Davidson over at Beyond Solitaire. And of course, we had Bruce Harper over here, the designer of and general honcho of A World at War. So, all right. And Jason Matthews was interviewed by Heavy Board Gaming as well. And of course, the Twilight Struggle 20th Anniversary Hall of Fame edition is coming out, and it does look nice. I am tempted by it, but I have not pushed the button. I do own Twilight Struggle already. So anyway, all right. Today is a new P500 editions. So let's click on that and click on this. And then there are two reprints here, are I, Napoleon, which sold out basically like that, and Skies Above Britain, which also sold out, maybe not quite as quickly, but pretty quickly. If you didn't get in on either of those the first time, then now's the opportunity to do so. Now, Echo from the Dark is a game in the Irregular Conflict series, and it is a science fiction game designed by Adam Blinkensop. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I could be wrong. If you're watching, let me know. So this is looks like basically a card game. It's coin-like in a way, but I don't know how far to take that analogy in this particular case. Only according to Ridley Scott, spare rib. Thank you so much. Anyway, I'm sorry about using the passive voice on that. That's just how it came out. In any case, Echo from the Dark here looks pretty intriguing, and the cards look very sharp. So this is, I think, worth a look once it gets a little bit closer. And it already has 324 here, and this thing's only been available for P500 for like a week. So not even a week, actually. And then, of course, we have another new expansion for Labyrinth. This one, The Rise of Al-Qaeda, 1993 to 2001. I feel like I would be a dolt to not order this since I have all of the other material for Labyrinth, and yet I have never played Labyrinth other than just the core game, which is fantastic. So, Mr. John Madison, thanks for stopping by. Sorry I missed you guys later in the week. I meant to stop by again, and it just didn't happen. I think I had penciled it in for Thursday without realizing that I had to drive to Columbus on Thursday. So there's that. All right, so those are the two new P500 items. And then, of course, here's a bunch of recent additions, including Stepping into Hell, which I have ordered, A House Divided, which I have ordered, Italy 43, Purgatorio. I'm not sure I've ordered that. I obviously need to get on that if I haven't. And Mark Herman's book, War Games According to Mark, which is highly anticipated by me. I will also point out that Hexasim has a Kickstarter for a Euro War Games book that will be the Kickstarter will be going live sometime in the next couple of weeks. I didn't get an exact date, but we talked to it with Florent, I'm sorry, did I say Hexasim? Nuts Publishing. I keep doing that, and I have to, I'm sure, enrage both Hexasim and Nuts Publishing. At least one embarrassing email has been sent out, and I was made to look foolish by myself. So anyway, it's an intriguing looking book, and I will be monitoring that Kickstarter as well. All right, so new P500 editions we've already covered here. I'm definitely going to get the Labyrinth thing, and I might get Echo from the Dark as well. We'll see. Neither of these are going to be out all that soon, so it's okay if I don't push a button immediately. But then I miss stuff too, which we'll get to. So, all right, new P500s on the horizon. 3 new Combat Commander products, which, I am on record as saying I am not the world's largest Combat Commander fan. However, there are plenty of huge Combat Commander fans, and I am delighted for them that they will be getting 3 new products. There is a new series game from Ben Hall. Nobody knows what that is. Well, people know what that is, but I don't recall what that is off the top of my head. I'm not sure I ever knew. A massively cool sci-fi game experience from Sam London. That sounds glowing. I don't know anything about it yet. And another governing game from Paul Hellyer, designer of Prime Minister, which is supposed to be pretty good, but doesn't seem to be getting a lot of chatter at this point. And we'll talk about, well, it's on P500. This hit P500 last month. We did talk about it. This is Stepping into Hell. This is going to be the next volume after By Sword and Bayonet from our good friend Stigler, in the Great Battles of the American Civil War series on the Battle of the Wilderness, which is going to be the ILAW of next year, I think. So I'm not sure what just occurred, but let's go back. All right, so coming events. Here's SD HistCon, November 8th through the 11th in San Diego. I think it's sold out. Batalladores 2024. This is a national convention of historical simulation games in Zaragoza, Spain. That sounds amazing. I'm sure it will be a delightful event for those lucky enough to be in Spain, and the food is probably good too. So GMT East is in 2025, so we're not going to really give you any extra information on that, but it is in Schenectady, New York, which is apparently not as far from New York City as I thought it was. All right, and what do we got going on here? All right, so this is a tabletop simulator game of Vijaya Nagara, but with one of the designers, I think, Sergio and Liz Davidson playing that. That sounds great. The game looks cool too, to be honest. All right, big status update on Frank. Let's get some water before we choke here. I don't know if it was last month or the month before, but there was a huge status update of on the ETO project. And all right, so let's take a separate look at that. I think this is what we've already covered. This is in fact what we have already covered. So it's all coming out in one big box eventually for an unknown price, which will presumably be large. Stepping into Hell will be out before the new edition of Three Dog, I would think, but if Stigler's has something different to say, I'll be delighted to hear that too. So, anyway, and apparently that's a bit up in the air. Certainly as far as the P500 goes, Three Dog have made its number very quickly. So that won't be the holdup, but I have confidence that the team will take the necessary time and care to make it exactly right. And if that makes it come out later than Stepping into Hell, okay, I can live with that. All right, so Washington's Wars on Rally the Troops. The Shako stuff is now available from GMT. Roger McGowan's delightful art book is available from Roger, but they do have some in the GMT warehouse. You can get it from GMT too if like you're ordering something else already. New 2-player scenario for Conquest and Consequence. So we've already mentioned that in a previous update, actually. I still haven't gotten one of these amazing throws from Kai, but I got to get on that too. Training materials for I, Napoleon from Board Games Chronicle. And we've got a thing from Candace Harris on Order and Opportunity, which looks like a very intriguing game as well. So, in any case, what do we got here? All right. I'm looking for the charging and shipping update. Okay. So charging October 28th, which is today. So if you haven't gotten hit with any of this yet, you're probably going to get hit real soon. So charging October 28th, shipping first week in November is Commands and Colors Medieval Expansion #1, Comancheria second printing, Holland 44 second edition, a mounted map for that, Wolf Pack, and Wargames According to Mark. Now, somebody said something about there was a delay on the book, but I expect them to charge. I don't think I got a charge notice, and I've damn well ordered the book, so maybe there is a delay, but there hasn't been an official update on GMT's website. Maybe there's something floating around. John Z from the sunny Philippines. Thanks for stopping by. Sorry if I didn't say hello to you sooner. Marty says that Connecticut is 3 hours from New York City, which is, you know, that could be just north of Harlem, though, to be honest, to be fair. So hopefully not, Mark. So if I don't get a notification that I got billed for it, like in the next 24 hours, I will investigate. Somebody said something about that, but then I don't see anything. And then I looked and I'm like, I don't see anything. I didn't look on Consum World though. So, and if Mark hasn't heard about it, then I'm going to assume it was just nonsense. So anyway, the next shipment should arrive in later November or early December, and we'll get details of that in the next update. So shipped to customers, a bunch of stuff. France 1940, Labyrinth the Awakening second printing, the main game fifth printing, the big box, and Red Dust Rebellion. And then there's this stuff that is going out basically the next couple of weeks. Shipping from the printer by the end of October includes one game that I should order, Congress of Vienna, and the Battle for Normandy Deluxe Edition, which I did order. So that is the more expensive of the two, but it's also humongous. So there's that. Okay. So I didn't see that, but maybe that's because I'm not on Twitter anymore. So that's possible. They only do at this point anyway, they only really do a Labyrinth expansion every couple of years. So I don't feel like I'm completely buried in Labyrinth expansions, and they are reasonably inexpensive. So in any case, we ought to get at least these two things, Congress of Vienna and Battle for Normandy Deluxe, shipping in November, or at least billing in November, one would think. Now, also at the printer, but for which there is not yet a release date, is the 2024 replacement counter sheet that we just looked at. A Jest of Robin Hood second printing, World at War fourth printing, mounted maps for that, for those who are totally nuts. The World at War 2024 supplemental counter sheet, which I did order. Not 100% sure that I need it, but I ordered it anyway, and it's cheap. Downfall second printing, Fields of Fire Deluxe, its update kit, Fighting Formations on the U.S. 29th Infantry Division, Hoplite second printing, and In the Shadows. And then going to the printer late this month or early November are the American Revolution Tri-Pack 2 by Swords and Bayonets, all this huge pile of Space Empire stuff, in this case including Talon as well, and the last 100 yards for King and Country. And then in final art and proofing is the very long-awaited Grand Battles pack for Commands and Colors Napoleonics, Seljuk from our friend Justigard, and the Bell of Treason. And then they're still kind of figuring out what's going on with the rest of the production schedule and as far as where absolutely everything is at. And if it takes a little extra time to figure all that out, I'm completely okay with that too. So I wouldn't assume that, I have no idea. I would assume that if it's just getting pushed back to the next batch, that it will not ship separately unless you didn't order anything else in that batch, right? But I don't know. Like I said, I haven't actually seen any of this. So there's that. One would think Mark would have been the first person on the phone for them to call if there was a delay. So in any case, a whole bunch of quality channels here to check out. Here is, let me zoom out a little bit. Here is the box cover for the Bell of Treason, the 1938 Munich crisis in Czechoslovakia. This does sound potentially intriguing. I am pretty interested in this interwar period, so I'm keeping an eye on this, but I have not ordered it up to this exact point. The box cover, however, looks pretty good. So, okay. So I was afraid this was going to be the Baltic Empire's box cover, and I was like, what? But it's not. It's just some showing off the counters, which do look very nice. Here's some more counters. So those cards look fancy too. So there's a whole bunch of very nice looking sample art for Baltic Empires here. Here's Combat Commander Minor Nations, sample counters, sample cards for China's War, which is going to be another coin game, sample cards for the Bell of Treason, Final strategic map for Next War Taiwan 2nd edition, and without comparing it, I'm not sure how this is different from the original one, other than to vaguely remember that it looks different than this. So I haven't played Next War Taiwan, although I have all of the games in that series except for the new one, Next War Iran. Maybe we'll order that in a future GMT sale. Or maybe I should order it in the last GMT sale. That'd have been a good idea. 1848, the Springtime of Nations. This also looks highly intriguing. Very interesting historical topic. It's a point-to-point map. I expect this to somewhat resemble Twilight Struggle, but we'll see to what extent that's true. Here's some stuff for 18 EUS and Away Team. More on Baltic Empire's Bear Trap. That ought to be out soonish. Here's the cover for By Swords and Bayonets. That looks great. Other stuff here. Let's see. Is there anything else to actually show off? Here's something for the Guerrilla Generation, which is going to be another coin multi-pack, which might be worth a look. The British Way, for folks who are into coin, the British Way has been very well received. I realize not everybody likes coin games, and I don't like every coin game. My opinion of coin games depends on which game we're talking about and how interested in it I was in the first place to get me to investigate it. Here's Zhang He by Jeff Engelstein and David Thompson. I know I'm saying that wrong, and that's the best I can do without double checking it live on the air, which we won't be doing. All right, reprint tracking. You can check out that on your own, and that is the GMT update. So let me pull this down and move us into the actual topic of the evening, which is the Compass Games catalog. Unfortunately, one thing StreamYard doesn't do is let me put in multiple. Man, this is going to look like trash. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can blow this up a little bit. Yeah, that's not helping. Hold on. We'll actually have to pan around, I think. That's okay. All right, so Compass Games holiday catalog. They do this every year. There's a physical mailer. They send me 2 of them. I don't know why. Well, we just covered that. So there you go. Well, you know, FOMO is why we do this kind of stuff. So in any case, yeah, I noticed. So there's that. Anyway, the Compass Games Expo will be Veterans Day weekend, November 7th through the 11th. So that's actually, I think, Thursday through Monday. I won't be going this year because I'll be in San Diego. We'll see if I get to go back next year or not. It would definitely be less expensive to go to Compass Expo, even though I end up invariably buying a giant quantity of stuff I may or may not have needed. But I'm never unhappy about it, at least for a while. But we have that. All right. So this price will hold through. I know that's on here. January 31st of next year. So you've got time on this, but some of this stuff is really cheap. And, wouldn't be completely shocked if some of it actually sells out. So well, let's assume that was the only fighter bomber in the wrong pile. It's possible. All right, so can I pan here? Well, we'll have to do it this way. Anyway, they're color-coded. Like I said, I'm going to try and I'll probably mention the stuff that's upcoming, but not dwell on it because I don't want to dwell on it. All right, so the first thing on sale, $45, 2040 and American Insurgency. Some people have had some good things to say about this. I bluntly read a thread on BGG where the designer responded to some what I felt to be good faith questions about why they designed the game the way they did, and was unsatisfied with the cowardly answer that the designer gave. This was not a game that I paid any attention to. If folks are having fun with it, good for them. My suspicion on this is no, and that is based on me asking Bill that question directly, but that situation might not be the same now, so I wouldn't assume that is still the answer. I would like to see the War Europe and the War Pacific remain in print personally, because I think I haven't played the War Pacific. It looks good. But I have played the War Europe, and it is quite good, and I would like to see it continue to be available. All right, Guadalcanal Diary is coming out in 2027, so we don't need to talk about that. But came out this year, we have Errand Armor. This is Bruce Maxwell's revisiting of his classic game from the 80s, I think, from West End Games. And this did extremely well, and it is going to be the genesis of an entire series of these operational NATO versus Warsaw Pact things. Are we? Yeah, okay. We're into naval stuff now. $70 is pretty good for that. So people are intimidated by the rule book. I don't take that particularly seriously, but that is because I have already played Bruce's NATO, which also has a large rule book, but it is a very well put together and well done rule book. The next volume in that series, I think, is going to be Fifth Corps, which says late 2025. So if you've enjoyed Errand Armor already, and lots of folks have, because I am not, Winterson, I appreciate that, but that is because I am not a Twitch partner. That is why. And I am not going for Twitch partner. So that's why. I appreciate it, though. Thank you. There's not a lot of war gamers to patronize with your free Prime membership deal on Twitch, to be honest. Anyway, and Brant, the Armchair Dragoons had some content on this from their little fest that they did a couple of weeks ago. Bruce was there, right? Am I remembering that correctly? To show it off, and he was showing it off at Origins as well, and it was very well received by everybody who's really looked at it. Another thing that has also been pretty well received, at least to the people I've talked to about it, is American Tank Ace by Greg Smith. $45 is a pretty good price for this. It has a lot of good content in it, and frankly, Greg is very good at designing in this kind of space. So, and even aside from that, Greg was an actual tanker. So there's I have been told that this game rings very authentically true. So all right, and then Atlantic Sentinels. Now, last I heard, I didn't pick this up, but I probably should have, is that Atlantic Sentinels can be integrated with the Hunters to turn it into a two-sided game, and that is an extremely attractive idea. So this might be something that gets on a shopping list that gets sent up with somebody to Compass Expo. Next up is Barbarians at the Gates. I did an unboxing of this a while back. It is basically a point-to-point game about the late Roman Empire in the West, using a variant of the Paths of Glory model of the Mark Herman card-driven wargame system. It was very well received, and I am a little bit surprised that Compass still has it in stock, considering that it was, everybody that played it liked it. So there's that. Battle Hymn Volume 2 from Eric Lee Smith be out sometime next year is what they're saying, but we've kind of been waiting for that for a while. Bismarck, The Last Battle by Petros Sorlos is a compact strategic game. This is available right now. I don't know anything about this, to be honest, other than what it's about, which sounds attractive, but it is a solitaire game about hunting the Bismarck down. So that sounds fun to me. Blue Water Navy, The Pacific. This will be the follow-up or companion by Stuart Tong, the designer of the first Blue Water Navy. And this is a modern naval conflict type of game. And this will cover the Pacific. So if you liked Blue Water Navy, and I know some people who did, then this will be worth a look. We've also, and that's 2026. What am I missing? The graphics did not bother me particularly. I mean, it wasn't like, oh my God, this is the most amazing. I mean, but I thought that the graphics were fine. So in any case, Breaking the Chains 2.0, this is a update of the earlier game, I believe, and that's available right now. We also have 2026 Breakthrough Russia. That's by Ernie Copley, who designed the War Europe and the War Pacific. I don't have anything to say about it, but Ernie's got a good eye for design as far as I'm concerned, so I'd be curious to look at it. We do have Brief Border Wars 2 coming up as well. That's going to be out sometime next year. I've played the first one, and it's a very nice light war game, very very well suited to convention play. Yeah, so I feel like they've actually throttled a little bit, to be completely honest. But I also, they're still putting out as much stuff as anybody else in the hobby, other than GMT, maybe. We got this Blowout list too here. We'll talk about that at the end if it fits. But, well, you know what? It's here, so we'll talk about it now. Cargo Express. I don't know what that is. It's not a war game, I can tell you that. $22. Coalition, which is a political game, I'd say. Very, very high level Napoleonic Wars game. Looks decent. $20, good price. Cradle of Civilization is another one that looks decent. $30. Dawn of Empire, $15. Festung Europa, which is, I believe, is that the redo of Fortress Europa? Because if it is, then that actually looks pretty good too. For Novo, $14.95. That is an absolutely stunningly gorgeous game. So, and it has not done well. It's on an obscure title, or obscure topic, and it has not drawn a lot of attention. And I have no idea if it plays well or not, but it is friggin' gorgeous. That's why I bought it. Korea Fire and Ice for $20, Late Unpleasantness for $20, Lebensraum, $20, The Little Land for $30. I've got that. Maori for $20. That's a Kevin McPartland game, and I've played that too. Operation Scorpion for $25. Once We Move Like the Wind. You'll see a lot of their older stuff that's been sitting around a warehouse for a while here. Ostkrieg, which I think is a Greg Smith game, or at least it's based on a Greg Smith system. Prelude to Rebellion, which is Marco Petre's game, which I have that too. I haven't played it, but I have played Prelude to Revolution, and it's terrific. Triumph of the Will, that's Ty Bomba thing. Battle of Armageddon, that's 20, 35, 20, 15, 25, $30. These are all very cheap. Sniper Kill Confirmed for $20. Where did I leave off? Sovereign of the Seas, which they've had for a while, $60. Napoleon's Imperium for $70. There is, to be fair, a lot of stuff in there. A bunch of issues of Paper Wars and Stalin's World War III are all on the fire sale list here. And I think I wouldn't read any inference about the quality of these games, but I would, and you can order this stuff on the website too. You don't have to like mail this in like a caveman. I wouldn't infer any thing about quality in any of these cases, just because they're on fire sale. But some of this stuff, like Once We Move Like the Wind, that was a pretty early Compass game, and they still have it. It's on a topic that a lot of people aren't super familiar with. So, and as Aaron Dennis points out, they do have like a special link you can go to see all the fire sale games. British Tank Ace, companion to American Tank Ace, coming out in 2025. Burma, that's a reprint of the Game Designers Workshop game, also 2025. Burning Banners, available now. Again, that sold out very quickly and was received very well, let me put it that way. As was Carrier Battle Philippine Sea, which also sold out essentially immediately. This one I was like going to get, and then it was gone. So that's why I didn't get that. Chaco 2026. That is the old GDW classic. I want to say this was Mark Miller's first published game design. Combat Volume 1 is being reprinted. That's available. Volume 2 is available. Moving back over here. Volume 3 is coming by Adam Starkweather. Okay. I wonder if that's a typo. I'm not sure what's going on with that. But in any case, 2025, and it's Market Garden, by the way. So for those folks that like the combat game system, this will be worth a look. Desert Blitzkrieg by Michael Vitale. This is 2025. Desert Generals is another Ernie Copley game. Dog Boats is by Joe Carter, the follow-up to Devil Boats, and this is available now. Plus this East Front Operational Battle Squad from John Tyson. I think that's worth keeping an eye on. But that is not available yet. All right. I kind of wish they would have put the pre-order stuff on one area, but maybe it was smarter for them not to do that. Now, I can't speak to the Air and Armor rules, but the NATO rule book was really, really good. So I'm just kind of going by that. All right. Enemy Action Ardennes and Enemy Action Kharkov, both available now for considerably lower price. Remember that you get essentially 3 games in each box when you look at those prices. Europe in Turmoil Deluxe, and Europe in Turmoil 2. Europe in Turmoil 2 is going to be another one of those shopping list items that I send out for. Falling Crescent by Roger Nord. That's an interesting development right there that I think has been in the pipeline for a while. That's a 2026 release. Flanks of Gettysburg by John Paniski. Paniski is a terrific designer that does a lot of really interesting work. And I don't know if this is a reprint of something older or not. I had the impression it was new. And despite my general high level of interest in the American Civil War, I passed on this just because I feel like I've got everything I need. That said, I don't have any particular opinion on the game itself. It is, Mandarin Mike says it's alphabetical. I didn't notice, but it does kind of make sense if that is correct. All right, For the Motherland, The Russian Front by Masahiro Yamazaki, a very interesting designer. This is mid-2025. That is another one that I think will be worth keeping an eye on. Despite the somewhat cheesy name, I have actually taken a little bit of a look at Galaxy Force, and it actually looks pretty cool. So I may be investigating this more closely as it gets closer, but Galaxy Force sounds intriguing, if slightly cheesy. So, well, fortunately, I got the game, so... Oh, cool. Let me see if I can I can actually pull it up over here. Thank you, though. I'll pull it up. I got to get through the Compass Games crawler thing because they think I'm a spammer, apparently. If anybody wants to look at what they're calling the stocking stuffer games, which I have just called the fire sale games, here's the link to that. All right, and as Jonathan Dyer points out, Flanks Gettysburg is new, reworking the rules from Balls Bluff and Fire on the Mountain. That's interesting, because Fire on the Mountain did draw my eye, actually. All right, Grand Army of the Republic, Designer's Signature Edition by Roger Nord. That's coming eventually. Grant moves south by John. We're done with the planes. Grant moves south by John Southard. I may keep an eye on that as well. That is ought to be out any time schedule-wise. Coming back in December 2024 is Commands and Colors Tricorn, plus the expansion for that, plus the African Campaign Designer's Signature Edition, and Zeppelin Raider, which is a Greg Smith design. I mean, who doesn't want to fly a Zeppelin? I mean, that sounds fun to me, right? This would have been appropriate, I thought. So, Matthew Brinson, thanks for stopping by. Catch you on the flip side. Kaiser Fleet from Gilbert Collins is coming late 2025. This is a World War I sort of retasking of a War at Sea inspired system. Jutland Fleet Admiral by the legendary Jack Green, mid-2025. The Ultimate Battle Simulation. Well, that sounds like something I need, doesn't it? I need the Ultimate Simulation. All right. Contact Now, Red Eclipse by Steve Overton. That is a 2026 release. This has been in the pipeline for quite a while. Lightning Strikes by Dave Lelacheur. So for those who don't know, this is what was at one point getting called Blitz 2. And it is a sort of step back and higher in scale version of World in Flames. But in this particular case, it's going to cover World War I, the interwar period, World War II, and the Cold War. And I am incredibly curious to see how they're going to try to pull this off. So very interested in seeing it. Not ready to push the button on it yet, but I'm intrigued. The Manassas Designer Signature Edition. This is another one that they've been talking about for a while. This is mid-2025. I guess at this point we are talking about the pre-order stuff. So because half of this is pre-order stuff. And there we go. And I have heard very good things about the original. Let me put it that way. So I will keep an eye on that. I do have games on these battles already, so it's not like I need it, but I might decide I need it, right? Next up is Mons 1914, The Mad Minute. So those of us who will have been keeping an eye on this for a while, including myself, will recall that this was originally supposed to come out from GMT as a follow-up to Jeff Phipps's first game in the series, Gallipoli 1915. It did not do as well as anybody wanted, I guess, on P500, so GMT pulled it, and it found a home very quickly, I'm gratified to say, with Compass, who projects a 2026 release. Now, I think when I had my interview with Jeff Phipps, I think it was still pretty early. At least that's my recollection. So 2026 sounds about right. Now, a bunch of changes have been made to this system for this game, and you can get those changes for Gallipoli as well if you go and look on the BGG page for it. And I anticipate that they will result in improved gameplay. I am impressed with what I've seen from Gallipoli 1915, although I haven't played it. So I can't give you a definitive answer on whether I think it is awesome or not. But it looks good. And the game itself, I mean, physically it looks good, and the game looks promising as well. So, No Peace for 30 Years. This is by Chris Van Beurden. This uses the No Peace Without Spain system. I'm all over this. I don't have anything on the 30 Years War. I may have a tactical battle or two, but that's about it. So these are pretty light war, point-to-point, card-driven war games, but they don't really use like the For the People model either. So I think this is worth a look, and I'll definitely buy it. I have the other four in the series. Did I move them? 4 in the series. There's 4 in the series out already. It's not really a very tight series. All right, NATO, The Next War in Europe Designer Signature Edition by Bruce Maxwell. I've played this twice. It is terrific. It is pretty substantially revised from the Victory Games original. So there's that. Gladiators, another Greg Smith game, and this is Greg's like probably going to run another tournament of this at Compass Expo in like a week. And this looks like tons of fun to me. So I don't think it's solitaire friendly, but I believe you can play it competitively. It is, after all, a game about gladiators fighting each other. So there's a whole big list of things here that were designed for solo play, including Bismarck, Carrier Battle, Combat, Defending America, Devil Boats, Dog Boats, Enemy Action Games, Galaxy Force, Interceptor Ace 1 and 2, Gold Age Piracy, Night Fighter Ace, Operation 333, Raiders of the Deep, Schnell Boats, Sensuicon, Silent War, Sniper Coup Confirmed, Spitfire Ace, Storm of Steel. I don't like that because there's another game there's 2 other games called that. And there's some 1 to 2 player games with solo, bot, or special rules, including Hearts and Minds, Imperial Tide, Ostrig, Pacific Tide, Rebel Tide, Lightning Strikes, Air and Armor, and Grand Army of the Republic. Whew, okay, Panzerkrieg. Designer Signature Edition by John Prados. The late John Prados, unfortunately, but from everything we're hearing, NATO is a Cold War Goes Hot game. That is correct. It is, damn it. It is the most traditional Cold War Goes Hot game because it is NATO versus the Warsaw Pact in Germany, basically. There we go. That ought to help. All right. Panzerkrieg. Apparently, this was far enough along that John Prados' passing did not interfere with it, although it might not have helped it get out faster. But this is the classic Panzerkrieg. Did we get all this stuff? We have not. We have Pontiac's War by John Paniski. This is the kind of topic that I will look at very closely if it's designed by John Paniski, because I think this is the kind of topic that he's a really interesting designer for. Gettysburg, less so, to be honest. We also have Rebel Tide. Now this is early next year. Rebel Tide is an adaptation of the Pacific Tide system by Greg Smith to the U.S. Civil War. I know that Greg's been working on that for a while, and that's projected as a 2026 release. We do have dates here. Nobody's going to remember this, so I'm not even going to read them. Fall Expo 2024, Spring Expo 2025, which is in May, and next Fall Expo, which is once again Veterans Day weekend in next year. Another reprint is Road to the Rhine, a Frank Chadwick design that came out all those years ago from Game Designers Workshop, and this is one that is pretty well remembered nowadays. So there'll be a new edition of this, and hey, this is a good topic that works for me, so I'll probably take a closer look at that too. We're going to get through this in a remarkably short amount of time, actually. All right. I officially did not look at Roma Victrix. And then I saw Roma Victrix on a table at Compass Expo last year, and I became intrigued. So I am still intrigued. This is early 2025. I will be looking at this pretty closely. It is an operational Ancients game, and you know how I feel about that. Russo-Japanese War. This is a reprint of the Game Designers Workshop game on that subject by Mark Miller. It combines two earlier games, one on Port Arthur and one on the naval battle of Tsushima between the Japanese and the Russians. So this will be worth a look as well. I know there are several of the GDW reprints that Compass has in the pipeline somewhere that I am interested in. This is one of them. Spanish-American War by Vance von Voorhis, late 2025 on this one, suitable for solitaire play, 3 maps, pretty big game. So I do have to remember the main. That might be the only game I have on the Spanish-American War. So this will be one that I keep an eye on as well. Eric Gold picked up Schutztruppe. That's an interesting one too. Well, World War I in German East Africa is not a topic we get a lot of games on. Every once in a while you'll see one, but not very often. And in fact, here is Schutztruppe for $52. This is a Dennis Bishop design. I do have a game on this topic. Letau Vorbeck from Decision. It's one of the minis, so it's like a little point-to-point card-driven thing. It looks neat. I haven't had a chance to play it. I've heard conflicting things about SPI's Russo-Japanese War game. I have heard from people who say they liked it, and I've heard from other people that say it was broken, so I don't know. Sea Power and the State by Stephen Newberg. The driving force, I think we can say, out of Simulations Canada, is working on a new edition of Sea Power and the State, and this has been in the pipeline for some time as well. This is another one that I wasn't particularly intrigued by, and then I saw it on a table, and I was like, I don't know, this actually looks kind of interesting. So we'll see. Charles Latorres having fun with Schutztruppe, that's good. I think it does. Imperium Romanum covers... So, first of all, I'm going to say I'm really reluctant to compare any other game to Imperium Romanum, but I think there are a couple of Republic period scenarios in Imperium Romanum, as I recall, but it is by far mostly the Imperial period. So, Mike Berticelli, thanks for stopping by. Well, I guess we're going to have to check it out at HisCon then, don't we? I mean, presumably all those games are intriguing, right? So back in the day, Game Designers Workshop did a series of games called Series 120. And there were a whole bunch of games that fit into the little digest-sized boxes. And the idea was that it was going to take less than 120 minutes to play, and there was going to be less than 120 total pieces. There were a bunch of those, several science fiction ones and several historical ones. 3 of the historical ones were 1940, 1941, and 1942. I hope I'm remembering this correctly. 1940 was basically the German attack on France in 1940. 1941 was Barbarossa, and 1942 was the Pacific. World War II campaigns here combines all 3 of those small footprint games, small, fast-playing games, into one box. For this reason, I think this is a dynamite buy. Even at, frankly, at the regular price is only $69. That is not that much. So I think this is a good bargain. I don't know that all those games are equally good, but they are, the Series 120 games in general are positively remembered. And again, they are small footprint. They're like, nobody's going to store up to your table if you're playing this at a convention and say, that's not a real war game. They're real war games, okay? So if that is what you're looking for, or if you want games to introduce relative newbies to wargaming, then I think this is a great buy. So Captain Nolan says 1941 is a favorite of his in that series. I have never owned any of those that weren't the science fiction games. I think I've heard of this, and I would be intrigued by this as well. Is that out, or is that still coming? I'm not really super up to speed on ATO's production schedule. All right, so next up is Sensuicon. This is, we've already mentioned this. This is Japanese fleet submarines in the Pacific. It is a solitaire Greg Smith game. As such, I expect it to be excellent. Late 2025, and that is going to be solo only. Might well be able to co-op it like you could with the Hunters, for example, but it's fundamentally a solitaire game. Shattered Swords is a unique game that explores the naval battles between Japan and the U.S. in 1942 using cards. Okay. And it's an Adam Starkweather design. I'm going to defer judgment on this. I like some of the stuff that Adam has worked on. I like GTS a lot. I like CSS. I have a less rosy opinion of OSS, but I also haven't played it, so take that for what it's worth, which is basically nothing. Silent War Deluxe Edition by Brian J. Miller. I've got this. I haven't literally not touched it. But it is physically impressive in terms of it looks good graphically. It is a nice quality update of the original, and it includes the expansion for the original too. So if you were thinking about this like before, now's a good time. Don't want to miss anything here. The Doomsday Project Episode 1. Speaking of the OSS or Operational Scales series from Adam Starkweather, there's some intriguing ideas in this. If you're interested in learning about the system, I think the best video that I can send you to give you a sense of it is one of the games in the series is Test of Faith, which is about the 1973 Arab-Israeli War. Joel Toppin did a video or two on that, or maybe more, but he did some video on that on his channel, and I found it very informative. So if you're interested in that system or in any of these specific games, I would check out Joel's commentary on Test of Faith. Salesforce. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that you have to deal with that nonsense. You would hope so. That would be acceptable. That ought to be like a marquee event, really. So the Doomsday Project is basically the Cold War Goes Hot iteration of this series. And I can tell you that, like the rest of the games in the series, I've seen the maps. Adam had them pulled out on a table, not last Compass Expo last year, but the one before that. And the maps are very impressive. I will definitely agree with that. Next up is Spitfire Ace by Nigel Hodge, but this is based on one of the Greg Smith games. So this is probably also going to be fun. Spring Prelude. I do have the earlier games by Greg Blanchett, Fall, Blau, and Kharkov battles. And once again, I have not played them, but I am reasonably impressed with them. And Spring Prelude, I don't know if we're calling this a series or not, but it is definitely a kindred system at least. So I will be, barring some catastrophe occurring, I will be picking that up as well. Let's see. Okay, so William Aaron says that Guns of the Ascari is available, which is, again, the game on German East Africa, is available as a back issue from 2012. So apparently that didn't do all that well. Alistair needs to do the Noble Knight ad. It's approximately that time anyway. I am actually not backed up on the chat. So now would be a good time to take 30 seconds to thank our good friends at Noble Knight Games, the official sponsor of the Counterclipping Show. We will be right back.
Here at Noble Knight Games, we've been carefully growing the world's largest selection of board games, role-playing games and dice, war games, miniatures and paints, card games, and more. Going on 25 years now. Our rustic castle contains more game and hobby goodness than you can shake a stick at. Complete with careful packaging and the finest customer service the land can provide. You can buy, sell, trade from anywhere in the world, just like nature intended. Noble Knight Games.
All right. Thank you, Noble Knight, for being the official sponsor of the Counterclipping Show. And hopefully everybody that needed to pee is gifted with the ability to pee really fast. So, moving on to Stellar Horizons. Now, this is Andrew Rader's game. Andrew Rader is also the designer of Fatal Alliances, by the way. This is his, maybe I got this phrase from the ad copy and maybe I came up with it. Design your own space program. I had tremendous fun with this. It's not for everybody. Some people just won't like it because of the way it's designed. I thought it was terrific fun. And it is an absolute space hog. I can tell you that. But other than that, I think Stellar Horizons was great fun. It's a non-war game. It's kind of designed like a war game might be. There is fighting in it, but don't expect the fighting to be a major consumer of your time. Mo from Mo's Game Table, thanks for stopping by. Now, coming up pretty soon is Stellar Horizons 2. So this is a sequel game to Stellar Horizons. Stellar Horizons is sort of solar system exploration by various nations, and more or less wraps up around the time that an interstellar probe gets sent out. Stellar Horizons 2 picks up the baton from there and simulates mankind's expansion into interstellar space. So once again, I'm all over this, and don't be shocked if you see some content on it in the near future. I do expect a Kickstarter for this also fairly soon, so bear that in mind as well. And if just the amount of material in it is comparable to the first Stellar Horizons, then that $95 price seems pretty inexpensive. Even $125 for MSRP is very reasonable in my opinion, considering the amount of stuff. Now, I have taken note of Leaving Earth. The problem with Leaving Earth is I can't fucking find it. No, has never been for sale anywhere that I have been. And I realize that, it becomes available and it sells out, and then I look for it and it's sold out, and then I don't look for it again for a year. And in the meantime, I missed an entire print run. I am told Leaving Earth is excellent. I have watched some video on it. I would 100% buy it if I were to encounter it, but I have not encountered it. So there's that. Storm of Steel, JU87 Stuka. Is this the Stuka Ace game? This is designed for solitaire play by Joe Fernandez. Solitaire tactical air warfare game where you're playing a Stuka flight leader, apparently. Okay, I don't really know anything about this. All right, Tank Leader. So, the Tank Leader games came out from, if I'm remembering this correctly, West End Games back in the late 80s or early 90s, perhaps. There will be coming back out from Compass, and this Eastern Front volume will be the first one. There's another set of games from back in the day that are well remembered today. And for those interested, by the way, the original was a John Hill design. And if you want to hear some really interesting things about John Hill, please check out the Chit Show from last week, where we talked to Dana Lombardi, who was a friend of John Hill's and had some really interesting anecdotes about Mr. Hill. Let's put it that way. Neil Badke says Noble Knight has Leaving Earth, and I'm sure they do from time to time. I'll have to check it out. Speaking of which, I don't have a campaign update this week. I have not gotten any. They haven't rolled over the store credit stuff for the month yet. So I have not. No, that's not true. Actually, I have actually played High Frontier. However, I will say that the different editions of High Frontier differ somewhat dramatically. So I don't know that anything I could say about it would necessarily apply to the High Frontier that you might play. I will say that owning Stellar Horizons as I do, I would rather play Stellar Horizons, having played one of the editions of High Frontier back in the day. So it's High Frontier has it's I recognize that it is a simulation of orbital flight and interorbital flight. That's great, but I think it could streamline its gameplay considerably and not lose anything. I think it is. I found it to be more burdensome to play than enjoyable. I won't say that it's bad. I just will say I preferred the play experience of Stellar Horizons. I wasn't miserable playing High Frontier. Don't get me wrong. Now the latest edition of High Frontier streamlines it somewhat, so it may. So I'm told. So it may alleviate the problems that I had with, not really problems, it's just like preferences. It may grate on me less than one of the previous editions did. I think the one I played was like 2 editions ago. So Thomas Bandy from Northeast Ohio, welcome back. This is another one that's been cooking for quite a long time. The Troubles, Shadow War in Northern Ireland. So this started out, to my understanding, as more or less a straight coin game and then evolved away from that during its development. This is an interesting topic. This says 2026, and I am very interested in seeing what this looks like when it gets closer. Here is Warriors of America by Adam Starkweather. This is a game on the American Revolution. And that's a 2026 release too. I don't know much about this. Here is also Warriors of Politics by Adam Starkweather, 2026. Takes the inconceivable times kicked off by Kennedy's victory over Nixon in 1960 and lets players shape the following decades. Okay, this could be interesting. I don't know anything about it at this point, but it could be interesting. Well, no, like I said, I didn't hate it. I think I liked Stellar Horizons better. I found Stellar Horizons not exactly mechanically elegant, but I found it pretty intuitive. I did not find High Frontier intuitive. So World War II Market Garden. World War II Commander Market Garden. So this will be the second game, I believe, in the World War II Commander series from superstar designer John Butterfield. The first one was on the Battle of the Bulge, and I have mentioned this before, but I have played the digital edition of that, and I liked it quite a bit. So I'm curious to see what John can come up with for Market Garden, which is one of my favorite World War II topics anyway. Sorry about Panzer Division Lair. Sorry about that. I'm not there. So I will be doing some kind of cleaning out the garage affair this weekend, I believe, up here in Northeast Ohio. $54 for World War II World War II Commander Market Garden. All right. Now here's a bunch of other stuff. Is this all the Blowout stuff? This is mostly the Blowout prices. Okay, so Brezhnev's War. This is, I believe, a Ty Bomba design, hypothesized communist invasion of Western Europe. It's what it sounds like in the 80s. $45 for that. Defending America is the sort of sister companion opposite game of America Bomber. It's a solitaire game, but I believe you can link the America Bomber and Defending America together for both of them, and that could be fun. The Doomsday Project, Episode 2, The Balkans. Again, the maps look terrific. I don't really have a lot to say about the system, other than that I haven't played it. And again, to point you to Joel Toppin's content on that system to give you a good sense of what it's doing well and what the challenges are. And I think Joel was very even-handed in his conversation about that game. Let me put it that way. Fulda Gap is the CSS NATO versus Warsaw Pact game. That is one of the ones I don't have and didn't feel a need to get because I've got all the World War II games in that series. And if Adam would like to put out more World War II games in that series, then I will be delighted to buy them. But I didn't feel the need for more NATO versus Warsaw Pact stuff. It is a topic I have thoroughly covered elsewhere. Sniper Kill Confirmed. We've talked about that as well. Both South China Sea and Indian Ocean region. Those are on the, I'm not sure they're on the shelf behind me. They are, in fact, on the shelf behind me. I moved a bunch of Compass stuff. Those look pretty intriguing to me. They look like a lighter take on similar subject matter to the Victory Games Fleet series, but it's also like the modern situation and not the past hypothetical. That to me was the appealing thing in it, and the games look really nice as well. Stalin's World War III is pretty much Stalin going west after World War II, I believe, or not long after World War II. Battle of Armageddon is a 2 to 6 player game dealing with the final battle foretold in the Bible prophecies. Let me put it. I guess the tagline says it all on that. That is not something I am interested in. Just on a topical basis. Triumph of the Will is Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan square off for total domination. I believe that is a Thai Bomba design as well. And it may be a retake on, although at least from the components, they look pretty different. Thai had done an earlier game called Tomorrow the World, which is basically sounds like a very similar hypothetical situation. So if you were interested in that and never managed to get a copy because it's insanely rare, then Triumph of the Will might be worth a look. Alexandros and Spartacus. This is one that's been sitting around in the warehouse for a while as well as Cradle of Civilization, which is not nearly as old. But like I said, there were people that liked it. There's like 2 complete independent games in there, and one of them might be better than the other. Fornovo 1495 was designed and the graphics were done by Brian J. Miller, I believe. It is just an incredible looking game. And it was supposed to kick off a series, and that series never materialized, presumably because Brian J. Miller found other responsibilities. So yeah, see, I think this is completely fair. But I've got too much NATO versus Warsaw Pact stuff already. I've got the Thin Red Line stuff. I've got the Third World War back here. I've got NATO back here. I intend to pick up Air and Armor. I've got the complete Central Front series as well as a number of other SPI hypotheticals from back in the day. So I just feel like I personally don't need any more stuff. Tomorrow the World does cover the entire globe, but as I recall, like the main axis of conflict was over the Indian Ocean. In Tomorrow the World. In Triumph of the Will, I have no idea. Maori is so here's how this game is described. Is a historic simulation game for 1 to 4 players depicting clan warfare in New Zealand before European colonialism. Okay. I'm not sure that's really doing that game justice. It's really a little bit of a 4X game. It's got kind of a 4X feel to it. It's actually quite neat. I did play it when it was in playtest, when Kevin was showing it off still. And I thought it had a lot of potential, and the map looks good too. So, I mean, other than that, yeah, I didn't really look at the rules, to be honest. Man, the counters are gorgeous. 1812 War on the Great Lakes Frontier. This game looks incredible. Okay, this is Ken this is Ken Reppel's game. And this was like a labor of love for Ken. He killed himself making this thing. It is a dynamite looking game, and the folks who have played it, it's on, maybe not the most popular topic on the War of 1812, but it is an incredible looking game in terms of physical production quality. And the game looks good too. It is a card driven game, but it is a card-driven game on a hex grid, which is a little unusual. Card-driven in the pretty conventional sense where you've got ops points or you can play for the events type of deal. There's a tremendous playbook in it as well. So very high opinion of that. $64 to me sounds like a great deal. Blood on the Ohio, the Northwest Indian War. We've talked about this one before, and I don't really know a lot about it. Other than that, it's just one of those things. There's one of Compass's pretty early releases. It didn't get a lot of attention at the time, and it's been sitting around for a while. So would probably like to clear the space. Brothers of War 1862. I also talked to some people who liked that. Coalition. I really haven't talked to anybody who's played that though. Don't read anything into that. This is true. We've got a bunch of different units here. We've got Japanese airborne. We got to put those in their own areas, I believe. And Marines. All right. Dawn's Early Light is 2-player card-driven strategy game. This sounds intriguing. I'm not really putting it together in my head at the moment, to be honest. Or perhaps I am conflating it with Dawn of Empire, which is basically Spanish-American war naval stuff. That is an intriguing idea, and for the price of $15, you can't really beat that, can you? Granada uses the Sekigahara system. I don't feel like this has gotten a fair amount of attention either, to be honest. I feel like this could be a much more popular and prominent game than it is, very easily. The 2 Napoleon's Eagles games. So these are Napoleonic battle card games designed by Christopher Moeller, who is, and I've said all this before, but I'll say it all again, who is one of the people behind the Thursday Night Gamers YouTube channel, which has not been incredibly active in the last couple of years, presumably because Chris Muller has got stuff to do. He is also the artist and designer, artist and writer of the graphic novel series Iron Empires, which was the subject of an RPG called Burning Empires by the people that designed Burning Wheel. And has been doing the cover box art for OSG for several years now. The Napoleon's Eagles games are straight card games dealing with individual Napoleonic battles. On the one game, you've got Borodino and something else, and then the second game is the 4 main battles in the 100 Days. So I've got both of those. I haven't played them, but I was impressed enough that I grabbed them, and I kind of wanted something like that, so I could, if somebody pitches something like Down in Flames at me, I could pitch that in response, right? That it could easily be that I'm thinking of Red Sun Black Cross, to be completely honest. That was an Ad Technos game. I've physically seen a copy once, but not since then. Also quite hard to get. There was like a whole trilogy of those from Ad Technos, actually. Most Game Table mentions Borodino and Leipzig. No Peace Without Honor is the European Wars of Louis XIV. So this is intriguing. This is, again, one of the No Peace Without Spain games. Now's the time. No Peace Without Spain, which is the War of the Spanish Succession, is also there. Piss. We got it. It's all good. Once We Move Like the Wind is about the Apache Wars. That's another one where it's just like a relatively obscure title, and it came out a number of years ago, and I think it just didn't get a sufficient amount of attention at the time. Prelude to Rebellion is Marco Poutret's game. I've already mentioned it, on the rebellion in Lower Canada, which is a conflict so obscure that even the Canadians do not teach their children about it in school. So, did I not say that? That was kind of where I was going with that. Thank you, Carl. Chris Muller also is the designer and artist and everything of Burning Banners. So bear that in mind as well. So in case you didn't get the message, the Napoleon's Eagles card game looks terrific, but it's just cards, right? So that sounded dismissive in a way I didn't mean, but there you go. Sovereign of the Seas is another one that's been sitting around a while, and maybe doesn't have the strongest reputation, but I can't personally vouch for it one way or the other. $60 at the moment. The Conquistadors, the Spanish conquest of the Americas, 1518 to 1548. So the early buzz on this was that it was going to basically be a kind of a new take on Conquistador, the Richard Berg Conquistador. And the way it worked out, the game that was released does not appear to me to resemble Conquistador, the SPI Conquistador, in any particular way other than being on a similar topic. That is neither good nor bad right there. But if you hated Conquistador, maybe, and you're interested in the topic, maybe you look this up. I don't know. I don't have an opinion on it, and I'm not willing to speculate based on me not having real information. The Late Unpleasantness is a dual pack of 2 games, American Civil War games. Gates of Richmond and If It Takes All Summer. So 7 Days in 1862 and the Overland Campaign in 1864. The only real review of this I've seen, I want to say that we intend to move on your work. Stuart's podcast tackled this and did not have they didn't love it, but I don't have any personal opinion on it. War for the Union, on the other hand, is a reprint of an old game from Clash of Arms that I picked up last year, I believe. And my understanding, after having done some research on this, is that it is probably not going to unseat either the U.S. Civil War from GMT and Mark Senich, or the Civil War from Eric Lee Smith and Victory Games. It's probably not going to unseat either of those as anybody's favorite American Civil War game, but it also does appear to have some interesting things going for it, and that is why I picked it up. It does have a weird honeycomb type map, which I am not crazy about, but if you remember the original Rick Barber version of that map, it had the same type of effect. The map was redone for clarity, but I don't really like the look of that map, to be honest. But that's a pretty minor point, too. Lower Canada, Quebec, yes. We were talking about the Upper Canada Rebellion. I mean, this could be a regional thing in Canada for all I know, but all I know is I asked Dan if they learned about this in school, and he told me no. So that is my my contribution there. All right. Then we have the World War I category. I'm amazed that Compass only has 8 World War I games available at this time. What are you doing, Bill? You're letting us all down. Attrition of Souls, which I've heard some good things about. Fatal Alliances, which I've played, and which is basically it's World War I, World in Flames. So I'm all over that. And I've played it. It is good. Imperial Tide, which is Greg Smith's game. That is World War I, right? Using the Pacific Tide system, or a closely related system thereof. Red Poppies 3 and Volume 2 are both on sale. Red Poppies Volume 1 is the one that's really hard to get. And that's the one I don't have, and it goes for a pretty premium price on the secondary market, to be completely honest about it. A more premium price than I am probably willing to pay. Let me put it that way. All right, so we're going to put the fighters over here, and I think they'll fit. Of course, I could be wrong. We'll just do it that way. All right, next up is Raiders of the Deep, U-Boats of the Great War. I'm not sure who the designer of that was, but what I can tell you is that it is basically a solitaire game. It's not Greg Smith, but it is basically a very similarly designed game to the Hunters. But that said, it is Austro-Hungarian U-boats in World War I. And that is not a take on that topic that we see very often. So I think that sounds quite interesting. And it may be one that I pick up. The lamps are going out. I do have that. I haven't played it. It is a card-driven area map. People who have played it have told me very good things about it. And of course, Western Front Ace, which we've already talked about, which is, I see why it took Greg extra time to put that, to get that game out, because there are a million different planes in it. I mean, there's the amount of different planes in there is just crazy. Mo has good things to say here about Attrition of Souls. Light, fast-paced war game. And hey, there's room for that, right? Not everybody's got tons and tons of hours. Oh, nice. Yeah, I saw that. I was just not gonna, I wasn't willing to spend that amount of money on it. But if I do see it, I will pick it up. I have the other two, and they look fairly impressive. All right. Raiders of the Deep, this is fair, actually. Just lacks a trip to the lost continent of Mu, apparently. Where are we going with land units here? I think we're just gonna go there. I'm going to definitely be able to get all of the Japanese in one tray. That's not going to be a problem at all. And there's some optional rules in Attrition of Souls as well. So, all right. So World War II, Bitterwoods. I don't need to tell you anything about Bitterwoods. It's kind of a legendary game at this point. A lot of people love it very much. It is... Every year, I see it getting played at both Compass Expo and WBC, and possibly elsewhere as well. So there's a lot of folks that have a very high opinion of Bitterwoods, or it wouldn't still be around from the Avalon Hill days, right? All right. Professor Salman says that during both rebellions was limited to the St. Lawrence. Sure. West was not united as Canada until the National Railway Project. Well, okay. I'm just saying. The game has not knocked the doors off the Compass Warehouse. I have played Prelude to Revolution, which is the Russian Revolution one, and it is outstanding. I liked it a ton. So it is very spreadsheety looking, but once you start playing it, it doesn't particularly feel spreadsheety to me. Then again, I tend to like spreadsheety games, so, bear that in mind. But nevertheless, I think Prelude to Revolution is really, really good. All right, I think we're probably pretty close to being done clipping for the evening, so let me put a lid on this before it goes flying across the room. All right, Devil Boats. Not going to lie, Devil Boats was not well received, and there are reasons why it wasn't well received. I don't think it's appropriate to go after the designer on this, because it was his first design. The mistakes were made. It became a public beef, and everybody kind of looked bad. I don't think anybody comes out of that type of situation looking like not an asshole. So I'm willing to take another look whenever Joe Carter releases something new, which will be whatever the new Boats game is, actually. Decision to Kasserine is the Vance von Boris game, I believe. That's got a good reputation. Fall Blau, I've already mentioned. I think that looks good. That uses a Victory in the West system variant, along with Kharkov Battles, which is standalone but can be combined with Fall Blau if you've got them both. Festung Europa, Blowout Price. If this is what I think it is, where it is like literally a reprint of Fortress Europa, not a reprint, but a new version of Fortress Europa, I didn't really like the look of the pieces, like seeing them on a computer monitor on the internet. But then I went and saw it at Compass Expo, and I'm like, hey, this actually looks fine. There's nothing wrong with this at all. So France 1944, that's the Mark Herman Victory Games France 1944 as redeveloped by Judd Vance. And from what I can see, Judd did a lot of really great development work, improving the play aids and stuff like that. So if you're going to get that game, I would recommend getting this version of that game and not the Victory Games one. Next up is Interceptor Race 2. That's exactly what you think it is. Greg Smith Air Combat Solitaire games. They're, I'm sure, tons of fun. Here's Kharkov. How did we manage that? Kharkov Battles. We've talked about that already. Lebensraum, which is looks like one of those late war, starts in 1941 to cover all of Europe in World War II. There's a couple games like that, including Downfall, but also including Ted Racer's Fall of the Third Reich, which I've got somewhere around here. Montelimar, which is another game in the CSS series. This is a game in southern France in 1944. And I would like to play it, and chances are pretty strong that next time we tackle CSS, it's going to be Montelimar. Unless something new comes out between now and then, and that could happen. Night Fighter Race, again, same deal. Ocean of Fire. Now, I've got Ocean of Fire back down here, and I think it looks very intriguing. And one of the locals seems to have a high opinion of it, too, so chances of it getting played sounds pretty good. Very curious to see how that looks. Operation Scorpion is Hellfire Pass, basically. $25 sounds like a good price for that. Ostkrieg is the Eastern Front using the Pacific Tide system. That's probably fun. Pacific Tide is here, of course. Russia Besieged and the Russia Besieged Player's Guide and the Finnish expansion are all here. I've got all that stuff. Carol, thanks for stopping by. Schnellboats, I think, was the follow-up to Double Boats, and this one was not received. This one was received better. Let me put it that way. So once again, Joe Carter, he's first published design. What are you going to do? Fall of Tobruk is the Vance von Boris Fall of Tobruk, I believe. Russian campaign is Russian campaign. $38 for that. Yeah, I mean, why not? If what you're looking for in a copy of Russian Campaign is something a little more similar to what you got back in the Avalon Hill days, that's not exactly what this is. It's the Jedco version, but it's closer than the GMT version. And on the other hand, if you are a serious Russian Campaign aficionado and you want all the bells and whistles and all the options and the overlays and the optional unit counters and all that stuff, then you probably want to look at the GMT 5th edition, which will not be coming back. John Longshore, thank you so much, and happy Halloween. We did the Halloween festivities yesterday. Once again, my wife is disappointed me by not allowing me to hide in the woods with the garden hose to surprise the kids with. I think it would be a very memorable Halloween were she to allow it. Tinian, the Forgotten Battle is another one of the island combat games in the CSS series. I think this game system is fundamentally fine here. However, I will say that the 3 island war games, Guam, Saipan, and Tinian, are not going to be for everybody just because of the topic, because it's Americans grinding the Japanese out of entrenched, dug-in positions. Not everybody is going to enjoy playing the Japanese in that scenario. So bear that in mind. Of the 3, Tinian is the smallest. Tinian is 1 map, Guam, Saipan is 2, and Guam is 4. If they wanted to expand that series and do more island games in that series, I would take a look at those too. This is possible, actually. I haven't heard anything about Schnellboats to the yeah, I'm not sure what came out there. I haven't heard anything about the problems that people experience more or less immediately with double boats happening with Schnellboats. So The Little Land for $30. So this is another CSS game. This is a Soviet amphibious invasion on the Black Sea. A very interesting topic, and I've got this one too. And the War Pacific, which that's still available. I haven't played the Pacific version, but I've heard good things about it. And I have played the European version, and I liked it quite a bit. So, Cold War, Brief Border Wars, $45. Again, it's 4 small games. It's basically a quad. I think it plays pretty well. Brotherhood and Unity, and I have played 2 of the 4 games in Brief Border Wars. Let me put it that way. Brotherhood and Unity is a game on the war in Bosnia and Herzegovina. It's a 3-sided game. That makes it a little difficult to get arranged. However, that said, I think this is hands down the best game on that topic that I have seen. So the CSS games in general will solo very well because they are chit pull games. So if you are going to solo them anyway, then my concern about not necessarily everybody wanting to play the Japanese in that situation might be alleviated. So Hearts and Minds, the game with the 2-inch diameter dice that come in there. I had this for a while and decided that it was not for me, so I got rid of it. I kept a couple other Vietnam games. I kept the Victory Games Vietnam, sort of, in the fact that I got the GMT version. Plus, I also rebought the Victory Games Vietnam for no good reason at all. And I did keep, at the strategic level, I kept Fire in the Lake. Those are the strategic level-ish Vietnam games that I've got. And I've got 1 or 2 things that are lower than strategic level 2. Not a lot. Korea Fire and Ice, that's the OSS system on the Korean War. This got savaged when it was released. It was the first game in the series. The maps look really nice. Vietnam Rumor War was the second game in the series, and I actually had that for a while. That was my exposure to the OSS system, and I didn't feel like it was working for me, so I dumped it. I never had Korea, though. No Motherland Without, the reddest game in the history of wargaming. It, however, is a super interesting game. You are playing as North Korea. It's quite interesting. Test of Faith, again, operational series system that is the Arab-Israeli War. And Vietnam Rumor of War is on the bottom. Do we have any of this stuff? Well, there's a bunch of Paper Wars issues that are in stock, including the Herman Lettman Mars Latour 1870 game. I Will Fight No More Forever by Steve Newberg. I believe that was a game out of Simulations Canada originally. Finnish Civil War by Brian Train. I've got that one. Russia Falling by Ty Bamba. That's hypothetical near future post-Putin Civil War in Russia. I don't have that. Nomads No More. Pretty sure I've got that. Belmont. This has it's the Battle of Belmont in the Civil War. It's one of Grant's early actions. And it's got a Rick Barber map, so I picked that up. Scourge of God is about the Mongols. Not sure if I have that or not. MacArthur, The Road to Bataan by Jack Green. Jack Green is a designer who's worth keeping an eye on. Jihad, a game of the first century of Islamic expansion after Muhammad. I believe I have this one. Pitt's War by Francois Stanislaw Thomas. Who's the designer of Nations in Arms and Le Grand Empire and Napoleon Against Europe. This is the smallest footprint and the fastest playing of any of those games as far as I'm aware. So this is true. This is true. Yes, it's a great title. I think that's a great title, to be clear. Vagram by Ty Baba. I've actually got that. Fall of Siam by John Paniski. Another very interesting Paniski topic here. I don't have that one, though. Steve Newberg's Hannibal, the Italian Campaign. I don't have that. Rally Around the Flag by Sean Chick. I've actually heard some pretty good things about this, too, but I don't have it. Battle of Galicia by Mike Resch. I did pick that up. That is pretty intriguing. Just a Guard has done some video on it if you're interested. First Blood in the Crimea, the Alma, I might have that. It's hard for me to keep track of the magazine games that I've got. Assault on Tobruk by Steve Newberg, don't have that. Bloody Retribution, the Battle of Inkerman, that's Crimean War, don't have that. Case Geld, the Axis Invasion of North America by Ty Bamba, I don't need that, just not interested in that topically. Santiago Campaign, sounds interesting actually. Second Fallujah, I've actually got this. I've heard good things about the game. Wolf Tones Rebellion by John Paniski. Again, an interesting Paniski topic here. Ebb and Flow by Ty Bambra. I think I said Brambra, but sorry, Ty. Covers all of Central Korea over the original campaign was fought. I assume we're talking about the Korean War here. Power and Resolution, English Civil War. There's some interesting stuff here. English Civil War by Steve Newberg. Don't have that. Operation Isabella. What if Spain 1942? Okay. Germans invade Spain. 3 D-Days, 42, 43, and 44. Another hypothetical. That's not out yet. From now on, none of this stuff will be out. Baltic Freikorps 1919 by Joe Miranda. Interesting. Red Partisans, The War Behind Army Group Center by Javier Romero. Javier Romero is another designer to keep an eye on here, by the way. With Fire and Sword, The 30 Years' War by Steve Newberg, P.L. Hollinger, and John Kula. I'll check that out in due time. And Sinking Yamato by Greg Smith, which I would be stunned if that was not tons of fun. So it is so red. That map is so red. And it's not even just like red. It's red. It's so red. That is a graphic design decision that makes perfect sense. And yet it's hard to continue looking at the board because it's so red. You think you're on a submarine. So, all right. And then subscription to Paper Wars, but you guys can figure that out on your own if you want. That has been the entire Compass Games catalog, front to back. So hopefully folks got some interesting commentary out of this. I feel a little bad that we started out with the one game here that I really just didn't take seriously. But in any case, so what else do we got here? So I got editing to do, and I don't know what editing will actually get done. Let me get this back up. Hopefully, oh, look, it's still working. That's a miracle. I have never bought a Paper Wars, like got it in the mail. However, when I go to Compass Expo, I will typically walk out with at least 2 or 3 and maybe as many as 7 or 8 issues of Paper Wars. So I do have a decent number of them at this point. Yeah, I would assume so. I mean, like I said, a lot of red makes perfect sense on this map. It's just it's a lot, right? Apparently I did miss Operation Crusader. So the Compass is redoing Frank Chadwick's Operation Crusader from GDW. This is going to be a significant redesign as far as I know. The original was a plotted double-blind movement, which is not a mechanic that gets a lot of favor. And I want to say that one of the things that they were designing out of it was the plotted double-blind movement. There is a lot of cool stuff. Compass does a lot of cool stuff. That's not to say I like everything that they do, but it would be absurd to say that I should like everything that they do. I don't like everything GMT does either. I don't like everything that Multiman does. It's unreasonable to expect that. So not that anybody's expecting that here. I'm just to say that. As far as I know, yeah, he still floats around. I still see him post on BGG and stuff. But his presence on YouTube, because the ham tag thing has become extremely intermittent, his presence on YouTube has become much less lately. So Aaron Dennis says that Assault on Tobruk is an interesting game done at the Grand Tactical Company level. Ooh, cool. So that's interesting. I do have I've got everything for Great Battles of History at this point. So I mean, other than like the loose scenarios that popped up in C3I, I've got all the modules, all the expansions, all that stuff at this point. Admittedly, GMT helped me out with that by republishing some things with the expansions that I didn't have. So, and I'm talking specifically about Great Battles of Julius Caesar. So, but yeah, there's plenty of good stuff in there, and there's plenty of good stuff coming too. Particularly interested in I didn't think of it from this angle. What am I most interested in from Compass coming up? I'm a little bit behind actually, and normally next week I would be catching up on this because I'd be in Connecticut buying all the stuff that I didn't buy over the past several months. Looking to get a copy of Iron Armor, looking to get a copy of Burning Banners. Might get one other thing there too. I'm somebody that I know is going up there, so I'm going to give them a shopping list. And it'll be reasonably easy. Well, sorry if I missed anything. I don't even know if I have it still up. I didn't even see Trench Raiders. Oh, nope, you're absolutely right. Let me pull this back up. Eric Goebel, thank you so much. The support is much appreciated. He says, Happy Halloween. Hiding in the woods with the hose is an excellent Halloween surprise. Yes. We did, the adult beverages is an excellent idea. We had very little traffic this year. I'm not sure what was up with that, considering that last year we had a fair amount of traffic. All right, Lee, I do feel obliged to talk about a couple of these, so bear that in mind. So once again, thank you, Eric Goebel. The Enemy is at the Gates. This is the latest game in the CSS series, and it is another NATO versus Warsaw pact, this time fighting over Berlin. The maps look great. Otherwise, like I said, I don't need the extra coverage on this particular topic. But I will be happy to buy any further CSS games in World War II, for example, that Adam would like to do. Trench Raid by Lisa Stedman is a single-player game set on the West Front in World War I. I don't know much about this. You assemble a group of 10 raiders and plot their course on a map toward the enemy lines on the other side of no man's land. This is potentially intriguing. Late 2025 on this. Solitaire suitability very high. So that's interesting. Yeah, I skipped this particular row. You're absolutely right. Third World War. have I said enough that I have a really high opinion of this? This was a great game back in the 80s when GDW did it the first time, and the graphical update, which is the vast majority of the changes that were made, is just to the graphics and the play aids and stuff, has done nothing but make this a better experience. So this is highly recommended by me. It is expensive, even as the sale price is $130, but I should actually have weighed my copy because it is so I did 3D printed counter storage in that, and my box is literally packed solid. And everything is in there. I have a super high opinion of this game, or I wouldn't have gone to all that trouble. I'm a little unclear on what the mission is for East Asia Front. Will it be fully standalone? I think that the answer is yes, and Mo, in fairness, might know. I think it's just going to be standalone, but it is also basically going to expand Third World War into Asia as well. I've seen the maps for this, not the final maps, obviously. 2026, that's a long way away. That's unfortunate, but I'll wait for 2026. That's okay. This is a guarantee buy for me. And actually, I must have missed Victory at Sea as well. Original 1992 edition by John Edwards from Jedco. This is available now as well for $45. So, as you can see, the prices here are generally very nice. I've played Third World War twice out of this box, so as far as I'm concerned, this 130 or frankly even the 199, I'm good. I'm satisfied. I've gotten my money's worth out of Third World War, whether I paid full price for it, and I did, or not. So I think I got in on the pre-order price actually when it was originally published. That might have been a little bit less than this. Here's a great question. Yeah, they're coming. I know that. I just don't have any like actual timetable for you. Mo might though. So yeah, I don't think I missed anything else. Of course, I could be wrong. The fact is that I had to zoom in to be able to see anything was probably not helping. Yeah, I think we're good. So I guess I'll mention that not a lot of wargame publishers are really putting out physical mailers anymore, and Compass is one of them, which is a good thing, I think, for Compass. It tickles the nostalgia bone of older gamers like myself to get those goodies in the mail. I think the only other companies that send me such goodies is OSG, and every once in a while I'll get something from Decision, but otherwise, nobody's really doing physical mail anymore. So, all right. So I guess I'll talk about this. So this is my very worn and tabbed Ars Magica 5th edition book. We play tested this edition when it came out. The new thing on Kickstarter, I think it's still going right now, is basically a super deluxeified 5th edition with a bunch of the expansion material folded into the core book to bring the core book up to something like 600 pages. And I went not all in, but I got like the whole main package of Ars Magica stuff, which is like the fancy book and the screen and all that stuff. I'm looking forward to Burning Banners, actually. So Mo says, I'll get back to working on the fleet, Last Gamble. Somehow I didn't mention Last Gamble in here either, did I? Let me find it. Hold on. So clearly my methodology for going through this, I don't know if this is in alphabetical order or not, but if it is, certain games are out of order. So yeah, this was all fair, if you ask me, Mo. So Last Gamble, special price, $85. That's Danny Parker's final take on the Battle of the Bulge. Totally worth a look. The game looks really interesting. And from a sort of scholarship standpoint, it is probably one of the finest pieces of games scholarship ever done. I don't know how that sounds. That sounds like it might be weird. Like I may have put it in a very strange way. Let me put it that way. Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't get it. I mentioned everything around it. So I have talked so much about Last Gamble, however, that I may have just mentally blocked it out. We're going to open that up. Somebody mentioned Broken Empires, I think it's called, the Sim Light RPG that's on Kickstarter right now too, or another crowdfunding platform. Ars Magic is not on Kickstarter, by the way. It's on Backer Kit directly. And they do. And I don't know every time, but yeah, pretty much. Sometimes they give away more than one. Yeah, I'm looking forward to giving it a look. I don't really have a lot in the way of fantasy war games, unless you count Warlaw. But yeah, I don't have very many fantasy war games at all. I mean, I got Sorcerer up here, and War of the Ring, but that's about it. So, and Divine Right, which I picked up the new edition from Worthington, and it is reasonably impressive too. I am aware of the size of the rulebook. Yes. Red? No, not yet. I got to get the thing punched first. We're not in danger of a game of it breaking out this week, so I will be able to examine the rulebook. I've got like stuff we're actually playing that I've got to read the rulebook on again, like TCS, for example, which I read it and then I forgot it all. So. World War I East Africa game? We're talking about Schutztruppe from Compass, or are we talking about that Spears of the Ascari from ATO? Because Schutztruppe is available from Compass. We did mention it. And it's on sale now, so, you know, if you're going to buy it, $52, now is the time, right? Yeah, so there's a lot of good stuff here, I think. All right, so tomorrow, the Chit Show with Dan. Our special guest will be Mr. Alan Emmerich, and we're going to talk about big wargaming projects because he's the guy to talk to right now about big wargaming projects. Combat is on sale. We mentioned it. Combat is on sale for $90 for Volume 1, $90 for Volume 2, and Volume 3 is expected mid-2025. So, Mark, thanks for stopping by. I think I've mentioned everything here one way or the other at this point. So, yeah, some really interesting things there. Well, you got to make sure you make it. 7:30 to 8:30 tomorrow night, folks. Looking forward to it as well. I have not really had any interaction with Alan up to this point, but he's been super cool about being on the show. So I'm looking forward to it. Once again, reminder that there will be no shows on November 11th and 12th. That is not next week, but the following week. I'm taking the week off. I need the week off. Because it's a lot of pressure to be doing these shows all the time, and I'm already not getting enough stuff done elsewhere. So, and then of course tomorrow there might be static videos because those I can like do the week before, but we'll see. Combat Volume 4 East Front would be a fantastic idea, but I don't know if that is what the actual intention is. Volume 3 is Market Garden. East Front and the Pacific might be interesting things for interesting venues for the combat system to expand into. All right, folks, we are wrapping it up here at this point. I want to thank everybody for coming out. If you haven't done so already, please do like the video and subscribe to the channel. And I guess I'll do the last minute campaign update, even though there's no update. Why is that not working? Yes, I am in fact wearing a Yes t-shirt. So, very good. Excellent. Always happy to help Compass sell, or anybody else sell some stuff. Now, why did it take like a minute and a half for that to come up? So we're still at 17%. I should have an update on this soonish next week or two. Well, it's going to be next week or it's going to be 2 weeks after that. Let me put it that way. And again, thanks to our friends at Noble Knight for sponsoring the Counterclipping show. They have been an enormous help, and I'm just delighted to be partnered with them. Let me put it that way. And I'm delighted to have had another show successfully go into the books here. So we'll wrap it up here for tonight, folks, and we'll see you all next week. And tune in tomorrow for our conversation with Alan Emmerich.